To create form, you want to think about a light source. And you want to do one side light, like the top here, one side medium, which is a little bit more layers of that color, and then one side shaded. And to create a shade of the colors, you need to use its complementary color. The Rubik's Cube needs to be done with its complementary color. So you can choose exactly two colors and make sure it is a complement. So if you chose yellow, like in the original one that I showed you completed, the opposite or complementary color is violet. I'm going to use a red and green color scheme in my Rubik's Cube that I'm going to show you how to do. You want to make sure that you're holding your pencil to the side because these are mostly vertical lines, and remember you want to use small blended movements. Make sure overlapping is happening. This is going to be the medium value where it's getting some light but not as much light as the top. Notice how I'm overlapping my values and I'm not drawing lines from the top to the bottom, I'm blending. You want to make sure that you are blending as you are going. You want to get that pretty well covered. Notice I'm going over it a few times. Make sure that you do stay inside your lines. You are graded for staying inside your lines. Okay? Now, I want no same color next to itself, so the next one, on that same medium value, I'm going to be putting a green application. Again, we're not moving too much, just kind of overlapping as we go. That way it's nice and solid and you have control over the values and you don't have any light or dark parts in that section. Again, remember, things need to be done in layers. Going over it again, make sure it's nice and smooth, looking for any little light areas that need a little bit more color, going right up to those edges. Okay, so this one would have to be that red because, again, no same color next to itself. To do the shaded side, I can go ahead and put a red here because I'm going to be making a shade of it. So it's not going to be the same color, it will be a shade of that color. Again, you want to add a nice application. Notice I'm going over it 2 or 3 or 4 times. And you want it to be about as dark as this original medium value. Then I'm going to take its complementary color, which is the green. Oops. And you don't want this to turn green. So you want to make sure that you're very careful in just getting those layers happening so that this looks like a shade of that red. Again, I went over it several times. Small overlapping movements. Then you're going to take your red again because you want it to look red and add a couple of more layers to that. Again, you want it to look like a shade of that red. Okay? So if you need to add any more layers or anything, do so. And get it really nice and blended. Okay? Next, we'll show you how to do the shade of the green. Again, you want to get overlapping layers, and you want the value to be about as dark as the one that you're doing next to it. And it's not going to be the same color next to itself because you're going to be making a shade of that green. You want to make sure you don't go too dark, otherwise the red when you put on it will not be able to change the color. The paper will be too saturated. Tiny little movements. Overlapping. Again, color in art is blending, and that's with small wiggle movements that are happening. Again, I did several layers of that red and then going back over it with that green. To make sure that it looks like a shade of that green. So you can see that those do not look like the same color. On the top, that's where our light source is going to be coming from. So these are the lightest values of all. Again, still overlapping, making sure I don't have any dark areas versus light areas. And I want to make sure that there's enough of a change between those two, so I'm going to add just another little layer there. Remember, layers add depth and richness to your coloring. Okay? So again, no same color next to itself. One side medium, one side light, and the left side shaded with its complementary color.